Griff, why don't you introduce our guest today?
All right, guys. Well, we've already done one. I told you. This is Kayla. This is Hannah of the Bluegrass Babes. This is Jeremey Delk, owner of Lex Exotic, my partner with Griffin Executive, owner of probably more business than I can name. The guy.
The man.
Just the guy, yeah.
This is the man, capital T. How did you guys meet?
Man, that story will take out the episode. I'll go real. I'll go Cliff Notes. I'm not proud of this, but we go to Ruby's a bunch, and Good Boys with Garrett, and Breeders' Cup is a huge event. Obviously, he shuts down Lexington. So months before, I'll speed it up. But months before Breeders even coming, Garrett texts me, bro. When do you need a table? What's going on? All right, I'm gonna have a big group on Saturday. It's 20 of us. Do us there. There was Annie, if you remember that. Annie was in there. I took my daughters and my wife's daughter. We went on Thursday. I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm going Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's just too much. Yeah. We went to the races both days. I'm like, no. He's like, are you sure you don't want Friday? Done. I don't want Friday. Go to the races all day Friday. Fucking go figure. I ended up heading to Ruby's, and I text him, and he didn't respond because it's flat out. I pull up, fucking this big motherfucker's there. Fucking some of the other guys are there, bulletproof vest. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? And they got a list and stuff, and I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm on the list. I know I'm not on the list, but I don't see you. Thank fucking God, Garrett just happened to walk by, like, bro, and then he go, get in here. So he lets me in. Then we go in there, and that's the night you guys heard Toby Keith was in town. So
we're on a concert, amazing concert.
So we're in there just partying, and we've been day drinking all day. Lee Greer and them are there, so we're back in the very back with Greer on their table, dance on tables, and then Garrett's like, come back out front. I'm like, why, man? We're having a great time back here, and Toby Keith performed. Anyway, long story short, I was overserved by Ruby's. Is my complaint. I was overserved, and we're walking out, and I'm a pretty nice guy, I think, pretty chill, whatever. And I'm a watch guy, and Griff made a comment like, "Yo, I love your watch." I was wearing the Hublot, the Spirit of Being, and I from what I'm told, right, I think it was basically something like, "Oh, cool, man. You do you like it? And are you going to be here tomorrow?" I don't know exactly how Griff can actually fill in the story because I don't know truly, but I just took my watch off and gave it, and I just gave him my watch. Yeah. So then the next. So let me tell you so then that he can fill in the color, but the next morning I woke up with a headache, and then we're going back to the races again, and I'm like, oh fuck. I mean, I barely remember the Valley guys drove us home, and I'm like, oh man, I think, and because it's Breeders' Cup. So it could have just been, and we're outside of Ruby's now. This isn't in the restaurant, we're outside. So it could have been anyone. I'm like, man, I didn't tell my wife. I'm like, this is gonna be a fucking $45,000 fuck up. And we went back that Saturday, both through, and then you weren't there. I don't know who was at the door.
I was there, but wasn't at the door.
You were back. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, you had a great time. I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then you came out. You had the watch he was wearing. I'm like, and then you went to take it off. I'm like, nah, but now I know where it is. Fucking keep it for a little bit. So yeah, it's a very interesting story, and then that's how we first met. So I really love the other half of your piece. But then after that, I came in for this is during the holiday time, Breeders' Cup, or not holiday time at Ruby's. They do lunches, and hit me up, and then So long story short, that's how we met, and I was inspired by Griff's story and the work ethic, and I'm a small town kid from Bardstown, right, just down the street, and kind of come up, came from no money, and have been, a bunch of losses, and the wins have so far outpaid the losses. So yeah, I like to invest in people and help out, and it's cool, and we kind of got along good, and yeah, that's how I remember it. Anyway.
All started with a watch.
Yeah. It all started with a watch.
Yeah.
Honestly, it did.
Yeah.
Ruby's over serving.
Yeah.
No, whoa.
We're gonna have to cut
I'm still involved with those guys.
We're blaming on Breeders' Cup because I was at Keeneland the whole day.
No, it's okay. They don't mind.
Yeah.
Do you miss the watch?
No, he gave it back.
She thought I kept it forever.
Yeah.
You just let him have it for a little bit.
I can imagine he's a little intimidating with like, you know.
No,
all
it
this
wasn't.
gear
It was just like,
going
it
on.
was genuine. Like,
the thing
literally,
about
I was
like,
I love your watch, bro.
If you meet anyone that's like a watch person, like it's just a weird. If you could meet, and I've done it in airports or whatever, you have a mutual respect, like a car guy, or whatever. And I've taken my watch multiple times and like swapped, and not like giving away, but like check it
Yeah.
out, because someone that appreciates, like it's goes through. It's
Exactly.
like, yo, you genuinely appreciate it. So I was like, yeah, cool, man, have it. And it was like, yeah, that was it. He's a trustworthy looking guy. Apparently, yeah, that's it. But yeah, that's
I think a lot of
so long
people-
story. So
yeah.
long story short. So sorry.
Trust you
No,
with
no,
your
yeah.
lives, so.
Yeah.
That is the story. It was a great story. We had a great night. I mean, outside of me having to put Lee out,
Yeah. Well, that's.
Lee got a little wild, but you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. We had a great
We've
night.
all. I've been there. I've been there equal amount of times.
But Lee, like he's a great friend of his, great friend of mine now. But
At the time,
when it's the Breeders' Cup, you let loose.
everybody gets
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, and then Toby Keith puts on a
Yeah.
private
Yeah, well,
concert.
Toby Keith performed for 3 hours
Wow.
straight when, you know, with all he's got going on, he just found out about,
Yeah.
you know, his cancer and everything. He put on a 3-hour concert. Everybody's gonna get
Oh yeah, wild.
over, you know, let's drink.
Yeah.
Let's
And then-
celebrate.
So I was convinced that my neighbor, next door neighbor, he's in the horse business, so he like bought like Justify, like so very big in the horse road, but he's in New Zealand, so Kiwi, and I thought he drove us home. Obviously, the Ruby guys drove us home, but the next day he's like, man, that fucking guy was good. Like he fucking like he didn't have any
He didn't
fucking
know it was
clothes.
Toby
No,
Keith?
so he thought he was like a pop-up.
He
man.
thought it was
He's
just
like,
somebody
dude,
random?
that guy's got a future. I'm like, you fucking, like, yeah, buddy, I think he
already
does.
been
Yeah,
living
exactly.
it.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
might be all right.
yeah, exactly.
So, what was your like first endeavor into entrepreneurship? Did you go to college? Did you just start out? Like, did you skip college? How did you get going?
So, even longer story short, but somber, like high times. I lost my dad when I was like 7. Tragic motorbike accident, and again, grew up in Bardstown. I think that later, after laying on a couch and spending hundreds of thousands on therapy, you work out a lot of this shit. But I think when you're a kid, you can't see stability. You can't see it. If you got a mom, dad home, like you can't see it, but you can see and feel instability. So I went from a fairly stable house to like young mom, 2 kids, 2 boys, you know what I mean? Like, and you go from a nice house to a smaller house to an apartment to a shitty apartment. And I think, that, retrospectively taught me a lot of things. It taught me, one, none of us are promised tomorrow, right? And I think just kind of, if you want to do something, do it now. Ask the girl to marry you, buy the company, buy the watch, whatever it is, just fucking do it. Because we're all on, time that we don't know when it's going to expire. But I think that ingrained in me, there's obviously a resource piece. Grant Cardone, do some stuff with him, and he's got a great saying, like, life's hard with money. It's impossible without it, right? And I think there's so much truth to it. So I think that probably created the drive for me as the vehicle, like to go and have a bit of money. How it happened, and I think that was an event in my life that I think really started to shape who I was. But I always wanted to go in New York, and I didn't know how I was going to get there, but that's what I equated like Sinatra's as, right? You can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
That's the
So
success
this
point,
small town kid, I've seen The Godfather, and I've watched like Wall Street. So I wasn't going to be in the mob. My last name's Delk, so I didn't have like the Italian heritage. So I only had Wall Street as an alternative, and so I had 30 grand that was going to come to me when, like as an inheritance from my dad, like insurance money. And my mom had responsibly put it in like 20th Century Ultra Mutual Fund and Disney stock. And I started reading Investor Business Daily, Wall Street Journal, and I was like self-teaching myself, the market. So I started day trading. I did go to college. I went to school in Providence in Rhode Island and got a scholarship there, which was like a hack, how I figured that was a fluke. But ended up going there, but I started day trading in college. And I day traded, I grew that 30 grand to about $2 million when I was 19. And this is the late 90s.
You said 19?
Yeah.
A lot of assets for a 19-year-old.
Yeah, which is a fucking problem, especially one like full of testosterone and like you couldn't tell me anything because I was like,
You're on top of it.
I'm trading on a Palm Pilot and like invincible,
Palm
right?
Pilot.
Like going
Oh my
through,
gosh, a Palm Pilot.
yeah, old school man. You know what that shit is, right? Those are in
Just
museums
brought back
now.
some memory.
Yeah, these are in museums now.
Legit in museums.
But that's impressive. But what's more impressive, I blew it up in 4 days. I lost $2 million in 4 days, which sounds bad. It is bad, and I don't recommend you doing it.
Guard myself to sleep all 4 days.
A lot, yeah, and drank yourself. I mean, it was a bit, but I think that taught me so many lessons in life that have truly made me who I was. Because like what you find out is like, you know, we've all had, you know, ups and downs in life, but they're all temporary. Even the good times are temporary. So often we get into the stage like, oh my God, you know, the world's ending, but we've all been through hard shit, and then now we've through it. Like everyone that's listening to your podcast, they've had a death, they've had some event, but now they're still here, kind of going through it. And then you have complete control over your story. My story could have been small town kid, went to Rhode Island, made a couple $1 million, lost it, came back, and I was a manager at some fucking factory or some fucking. It could have been my story, and it would have been okay. But you know, my parents, my mom and my stepdad worked in the post office, so like they would give me the shirt off their back, but that literally was where it would stop. There was no other resources. So I have historically in my life always performed best with my back against the wall, because these assets, like, so I'm making all this money as every college freshman in their summer year. I bought a townhouse with a fireplace and 20-foot ceilings, and I mean, I had like real world problems because I still had all this shit.
Yeah.
But I had to go get a job, right? So I had to go get multiple jobs to kind of make this work. Otherwise, I'd lose my condo, I'd lose my house, and you know, all why, you know, I was the first one in my family to really kind of go to college. So I'm not scared of much, but fucking mom, I'm scared of. This
same,
I'm scared of.
same.
Fucking Bob. So that was a non-starter. Me, grabbing was a non-starter. So I had to figure this out. So I had to go and get like odd job. I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch. I was packing boxes at UPS, and I was doing all of this stuff. And the last job I was doing was renting apartments. So there was a high-end luxury apartment complex right beside my townhouse community, and I would get commission every time I did the lease for $500, and we would have like these little pool party events, and you know, I would go through, oh, how's it going? Do you like this place? Whatever. Do you have any friends? Like that was mainly it. And in that, I met a guy that was working with Fidelity, and somehow the market came up, and I just lit up, and I started just rapping and kind of telling him all this stuff. He's like, how the fuck do you know this? And like he said, well, I blew up $2 million in 4 days. I'm stupid. But I think I garnered quite a bit of respect. And he's like, hey, would you ever consider on Wall Street? And like fast forward, like, that was the dream. Like, so you never know how you're going to get there.
Looking for.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I wrote a book that came out late last year, and it's how
Without
I
a plan.
without a plan. And so I ended up 6 months later. I was the youngest Fidelity trader, and I say of all time. I don't know that to be factual, but I was 19. You have to be 18 to be licensed.
Yeah.
I was fucking maybe some other genius kid has done it, but that's how I got there. But through that windy path. So if I didn't lose that $2 million, I'm never hustling apartments. Yeah. And then I think ultimately I would have blown up somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it, because I couldn't have been told. And then what happened if I would have blown up at 30 with kids? You know, 40, like, that's a piece. So I think that's the. So I don't know what the question was, but that was my first interest. I ended up, you know, transferring to night school. I graduated, but while I was working full time at Fidelity.
It was how you became the entrepreneur you are today.
Yeah.
But
that got me a job.
Yeah.
That got me a job, and then I was moved to Manhattan, and I'm now in early 20s. I'm making more money than my mom and stepdad combined, and I fucking just built myself back up, got some cash, went from the Grand Cherokee to the BMW, and then I tell mom, like, yeah, I'm resigning. What the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. She really wanted to send me to a doctor. And I realized then, like, besides making money, we weren't creating anything. But I would have never done that either. I never would have had the
taken
balls
the leap
to go out. And I think, to your question, like, what some of your listeners are doing, like, how do you have that thing? You don't know. Like, do you have kids? Anyone have kids? Like,
I got 2.
Well, of course, you know I got kids.
Yeah, no, how did you know when you were ready to have kids?
I didn't.
Fucking no one does. No one fucking knows, right? There's no button. There's no fucking, okay, you're official.
Not planned all mine.
Yeah, oh, fuck off. But like, you know, just so that's a piece. So for me, I left a very high paying job and went out on my own and started Delk Enterprises, and that's 22 years later. But my first year in business, I made $6,000. My rent was that a month, right? And, you know, obviously I had some savings to kind of go through, but I had used that lesson of like, what's going to happen? It can't be as bad as blowing up $2 million in 4 days. It can't be that fucking bad. So, and I've gotten through it. So I think that's the piece where, you know, people live in this world of fear and like,
will I lose?
Fear of failure kind of thing.
I mean,
If you start with a big, like a $2 million failure is a big, not failure, but a $2 million loss
Lesson.
is a huge. That's probably what trajected your entire
no,
success.
for sure. I mean, like the subtitle of the book is
Like what more can I lose?
a memoir of you know, unbound action and failing my way to success. And I think the biggest piece is people have this negative connotation with failure, that it's a bad thing. And that's where, like, I've not learned shit off my fucking successes. Those are fucking easy. I'm a fucking genius. It's having the courage to go back and look at, how did I fuck this up? What did I misread? What did I do wrong? And that. And I think the other piece, we get in our heads in this fear of starting something, because what other people are going to think. I tell us all the time, like, no one fucking cares about you. Like, your kids care about you. No one fucking else cares. And we put so much thought and energy on whether they have their own fucking problems. They have their own life, and like you're gonna be talked about for 2 seconds. I know, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And like you're like, fuck it, like no one really cares because they're going through. Haters do. I mean, there's people that kind of go through and troll you, whatever. But like, dude, I've never met anyone that threw shade at me that was doing better than I was. Right. So fucking cool. Like so that's the piece that you need to kind of come to grips with. But really embracing failure and leaning into it, I think is that biggest piece. And everyone tends to go on this side of the ledger of like, you know, what if this happens? What if I fail? What if I don't go through? Whatever, all those things, and they stack up that ledger. But like the loneliest place I was actually on a podcast earlier today, and like the definition of hell, right, is when you die, meeting what you could have been. Imagine that, right? If you didn't take the shot, that's it. Like, imagine, like, you fucking saw what you could have been.
Sure.
Imagine having to live like in the next life with that.
That's why you take those shots.
And I think
you gotta take those shots.
And you just and keep swinging. I think that's the piece. That kind of, if you just keep going forward and learning from it. I mean, you don't want to keep making the same mistakes, but having the strength to kind of look back and say like, yep, that was a mistake. Owning it and learning from it, I think, is the biggest piece. So I do a bunch of coaching. It's all that we invest in. I think that's the biggest piece of just getting started. And then also, I think it's dreaming too small. Right? We set all of these fucking parameters ourselves in our head. I can do it. Why can't you? Like, just go and do it. Like, oh, I'm not fucking. I didn't go to Ivy League school. I didn't like. I wasn't like pedigree to do this, right? And most entrepreneurs won't, right? I mean, I think the people that are going to work, and those are great eye bankers, and they get great jobs at Goldman, that's fine. But the people that actually those fucking cunts work for, I lived in New York for a long time, so it's part of the language, but who they work for are guys like me who curse and kind of go through that, just go through and disrupt and go. So I think you put your own limits on yourself, and that's.
I was reading something the other day, and I can't remember like who specifically what it was like about, but they were talking about like their friend group, and they were like, when I fell or I have something go on in my life, I just reflect back on my group, and I'm like, this man has been sued for all he's worth. This person has been bankrupted 3 different times, you know, X, Y, and Z. And they're like, I look at this group, and I'm like, if they could have made it through it, I definitely fucking can make it through it. You know what I mean? And they're like that's how they build though. That's, you know, they've kept this friend group, and they're like, well, you know, we've all been through like the worst shit, but they've all came out on the right side of it, you know, and they're able to learn from those lessons that even their friends had to go through. So
it's vulnerability. Right. I mean, I think if you can, you know, I invest in a bunch of different businesses and people and stuff, and like the one that has it all figured out, and like, yep, I got all the answers. Like, I'll never give them $1 because I don't have it all fucking figured out, right? And I think it's having to be like, yo, I don't know how to do this, or this isn't my strength, or this is like, this piece, right? Me and Griff met like, yo, I'm doing all this shit. Like, dude, you're doing all the stuff that's hard. Like let's figure out a way to how do we have someone else
make it easy,
make it easy for you. But it's hard until you do it. And then once you do it, like, oh fuck, why would I ever do that again? And I'm not smart. I've just done enough stuff to see it, right? I think that's the
delegate.
Yeah.
Good delegate.
Right. Listen, delegating is
not, but partner with something that you're just better. Like the next piece, like, let's say you've started your business and you started doing something. You hear everyone all the time, oh, well, I'll just do it myself because it's easier for me just to do it. And there's no way that you can scale that, right? And and you don't want to. I usually become a problem in my business because I'm always trying to break it, come up with new ideas, and I usually sell them to adults that can actually they go through and actually can run it and do all this stuff because I want to come up and create.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like,
your
even
genius
I was so excited. Like, on the, or say like, let's fucking have a logo, let's sign, like, I'm fucking there, and then I fucking like, I'm like a fucking burnout, quick, like a fucking starter. I come through this place, this fucking vision, and sadly, I just fucking, it goes away. Like, I'm a big vision guy, and I get all the joy in the creative process when it's going. After it's had the baby, like after I'm like, yeah, I've got that too.
Yeah, that's my baby, but I sent it out
I got more
to.
comments.
Yeah, I sent it to Flourish.
Yeah.
He's flourishing. I'm good.
Exactly.
So I like that you said that you basically stay in your genius seat and do what you love and what you're passionate about, and then let other people do what they're
He's helped me
passionate about.
come to terms that you don't have to put your finger on everything.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And that's my problem. I like putting my fingers on things.
Yeah.
I think that's
So-
self-sabotage.
Yeah, it becomes self-sabotage. And with that mindset comes, while I let this rest and let it grow, I can move on to something else. That's what he's the king of. And I'm trying to get there.
Yeah. I
But
think a big
that's
part
what
of
he's helped me
that
with. Yeah.
Is having the right people around you that you can trust to do those things accurately.
I don't think
so
I've
you don't
ever
have to
had
worry
somebody
about
to
it.
be like, look, you can this is going good. This is going great. Why don't you figure out what else you can do? Like I told y'all before, I've asked him, what can I take my money out of this and put it into something else so that the future can look better for me. This future will it's already going that way. Can we figure out something to make the money that we're making from that, go into something else?
Yeah. Two things you said earlier that I thought were really cool. I just want to highlight for a second.
The thing is, the crazy thing, I was telling them things about what they do, and I took your seat. Yeah. I was like, we can do this, we can do that, we can do that, and that's crazy
he was
because
loving it. It's all about the creative
I became
process
you
there.
for a minute. But like things that he's helped me with, like I said, you can become what you're doing in your industry, you can make it, and you can make it.
Sky's the limit.
The sky's the limit
Yeah.
because what you're doing can be so much more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a common misconception for people that are just like in the 9 to 5, they're wanting to get into entrepreneurship. I think they look at people that are successful and they think, oh, they're so lucky.
I'm so lucky.
So I think it's the biggest misconception, though.
The biggest. So I think it's really cool that not only did you started with this huge setback, this big event in your life, and you used it almost as fuel to like project you forward, and it happened over and over and over again. But you, like you said, you could have laid down and been like, oh shoot, I'm gonna go
work at the
gonna go
warehouse.
work in a factory, but you didn't let that stop you. You let that kind of project you into the future, which one, I think that's really cool. But two, you also brought up therapy, and being a guy talking about therapy, I just think that needs to be talked about more because we all need that help in our life.
No, for sure. And I think that's where the vulnerability comes from. I think if you, because we're like humans are just naturally fucking great liars themselves, right?
Yeah.
And we can bear things kind of go through. But now I'm a big pussy. I fucking cry. I'm all stuff like. I think if you can be vulnerable, like then you can get. And that's why even like, on the entrepreneur piece, like going through like trying to get someone to pitch me or an investor, like if someone can tell me like this is where I'm fucking deathly scared. That's what keeps me up at night. That's where I may not be the right partner, but or if I am, it's gold because I can actually help them. You can't get help if you don't tell someone what you need. And entrepreneurship is a lonely place sometimes, but in your relationships, just being able to kind of set down on that, it's a huge piece. Because otherwise, you got to go through. I mean, you got to kind of figure out your why and kind of go through it. I've tried to buy it, and we're in a fucking car garage. I've bought the cars, the watches, the shit, and I'm telling you, it's cliche, but money does not buy any fucking thing that happens. It doesn't, right? Yeah. It buys cool opportunities and fun, but that you have to do that as a side piece. Like it doesn't. If it all goes away, it fucking goes away.
Yeah.
You have to have like your network, your family, your friends. Like that's what really is the core kind of component. But you got to go through and just like looking back on deals, you got to look back on your origin and like what. I don't think you should dwell on it, but accept it. Right? Like I'm fucked up for these reasons. Acknowledge it. And then try to, work from that piece. Yeah.
You mentioned writing your own story. I think vulnerability and like being honest with yourself is like a huge part of that. Like, I think
that was the worst thing I've ever done.
It's awful. It is not fun.
The writing my book was the worst thing I've ever done. Wish on your enemies.
Yeah, but it's a huge component of it. You have to be able to do that so you can write your story.
Yeah, because the first part we wrote the book. Wow, my wife hasn't texted me yet. I'm too in trouble with dinner. But I wrote the book and I threw it away because it wasn't bullshit, but it was it was just business, right? And real stuff, like, you know, we've had Inc. 500 companies, so we've had massive successes, and I paid $2 million to the government fucking a few years ago, right? I mean, so like, I've been through it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
but I'm still here. And I think, don't do that. Don't pay $2 million to the government.
Don't do that.
Don't lose $2 million in 4 days. Like, just fucking do what I don't do. It's fucking good. But like, I scrapped the book because it was bullshit. And what was bullshit is I was only telling one side of the story, which was the business side. Mm-hmm. And business is personal. I don't give a fuck. People do business with people. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was important to tell the other side of it. And like the other side of it, it's true. Like, you may not fucking like it, but you can't call me a liar, right? Mm-hmm. I told the fucking hard truth. Like, I got divorced, bad. I just laid it out there. And that, to me, I've gotten more feedback from people on the book on the personal side than the business side. Which is like someone's like stay-at-home husband, stay-at-home wife, you know, whatever that goes through. Like, just to be like, hey, I want to have this identity. I want to kind of go through and be good with myself. That has been, that to me brings more than like, yo, I use this tactic to do that. Yeah. I get more out of like, this helped me fucking come through it. Because like, dude, we're all fucked up. Like,
we're being real about it.
You can go through it and like, and acknowledge it, and then like use that to kind of be better. That's, I think, the piece. I
think it inspires people, or even like encourages them. It makes it feel more attainable when people are like, okay, so he had a lot of fuck ups. Like, that's part of the journey.
Everyone
you know
does.
What I mean?
Like, so the lucky piece, yeah. Like, you know, the harder I work, the luckier I get. Like, you heard that one, right? Or like, I'm an overnight success, 22 years in the making. Like, you go through, but again, I was on, like, I didn't need to be doing what I was doing a few years ago. Spoiler alert in the book, I turned down $700 million because I'm a fucking sicko, because I wanted to bill you. There's no difference between the $2 amounts.
Shoo.
And then fucking few weeks later, I get fucking
like
rated, pay out $2 million, and then I sell for $7 million. Like, so they're all big numbers, but like, you know, and I don't want to be discounting it, but you play different games with yourself, right? And I think you can be a victim. It's so easy to do it, but just if you can just like, hey, this is me, this is my journey, and just keep going and learn something of it, and hopefully you can teach and guide along the way. Is that, you know, and people have taken bigger hits than I have, and they're still there. So I think that needs to be your driving force, and you know, just take a small step. You don't have to be crazy like me to go into leave your job, leave a high-paying job, and just start out. But take a step, right? Because the worst thing that you can happen is be that guy at 90 wondering what if.
What would have happened if I would have, you know.
So you and Griff have similar viewpoints on this, like how it's people first.
Yes.
Yes.
And interesting as well, like people connect with vulnerability.
Well, it's
Don't
real.
You think? It's real. Like, and I think they crave that more now so than ever before.
Well, I mean, the determining factor with like the Griff executive thing, right, is this guy in like leadership, and I don't believe everyone's an entrepreneur. I just don't. I don't believe it. I think you're born it, and nor is leadership. And like, I think you can have it. And like, that was the tipping point to me, is if you look at anyone on the Griffin team, like they would fucking lay down, fucking take a bullet for this guy.
So we'll stare off this a little bit and get off the entrepreneur side, because obviously we have a lot of beautiful vehicles behind us. So our question we had was, well, two questions. What was the first one you bought? Second question, which one's your favorite?
Fucking hard.
First, I know.
So the first one was the 458.
Okay.
That was my first supercar, and that's my thing. So he probably talks about John Stewart and these guys, some of the other guys in Lexington. I will fucking own any motherfucker in that car. Yesterday we were in the
Porsche 998.
And then my other buddy Topan got a new Lamborghini Technica the other day, and we went the speed limit. And
speed limit only.
Yeah. And I'm hard to be beat in that car. So my son wants me to trade in for a new Lambo, but that's.
He wants you to trade for a new Lambo?
No, he wants. Yeah, I'll never sell it. Like, I don't sell anything.
The 458.
It's the last.
So before you got here, they asked me what was my favorite car. I said the 458.
It's cool that color piece.
It's the last year they made the carbon fiber.
Well, the last naturally aspirated Ferrari.
And that's what it was. And I was trying to tell you guys, and I forgot.
My favorite car is that one. So if you've seen Gone in 60 Seconds, it's the Mustang, that Eleanor, and That's a cool story. That's
As soon as I walked
so
in.
that's actually
Chevy GT500.
one of the more expensive cars in here, actually, and it's special. It's a California car. We found it in Ohio in a barn. And, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll find the picture and you can throw it up in the edit. Graham, my son, who's 9 now, I think he was 4 or 5.
Okay.
So he's a little guy, and it was in a barn in parts, and we did a 3-year rotisserie restoration. So I could have bought 2 of them.
Yeah.
For what it cost me to restore it.
That's what I was telling
3
her.
years.
I was like,
but like I know
they're
every
super
screw.
expensive to restore.
I know every screw, everything, and like it's cool because like the windows are down right now. It looks like if you roll up the windows, it's got like the AAA club from California from like 1970 something.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So that's the favorite.
You also have obviously quite a few different manufacturers. So what would be your favorite manufacturer of cars?
I mean, I'm partial to Ferrari. I'm after seeing my buddy's Lamborghini. And the guy texted me today from Mag. But yeah, I've got other.
John
cars.
or
No, the Lamborghini dealer.
oh yeah.
So I think Ferrari. I'm a Ferrari guy. I mean, but I look at all these cars as art. Like our other buddy just bought a beautiful, one of 700 or one of 900 cars. The 918.
God, that 918 is crazy.
$2 million car.
He left it unlocked in the parking lot.
Yeah. But they're art. It's art, and I'm an art guy. That's a David Yarrow. So I'm a big art guy. I think these cars are another piece of art. So yeah.
Nice.
I saw your Sinatra downstairs too.
Yeah.
You brought
Yeah.
Sinatra over.
Yeah. That's an artist down in Miami. So yeah, I'm a art
Speaking
guy.
of, I told them about how you like to take your spontaneous trips. Yeah, we're going to
We ended up in
going to Miami in an hour, bro. You ready? What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
It happens. It happens. No.
Got anything else?
What's the ultimate goal? What do you want your legacy to be?
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Sorry.
The legacy. So I don't know. I mean, I think I'm living it. Like, I mean, I think it changes, right? And I think people like hear this, like you make a couple of dollars and you kind of go through, but even with grip, like it gets to be like your kids, right? And like so, the biggest fear is like how do you? Because like my kids are growing up way different. I got 1 on the way, 2 already, and like my kids are growing up way different than I grew up.
Yeah.
So like the biggest thing I always ask, like buddies or friends and of any walk of life, like how do you not fuck them up, right? How do you make them just good people, right? And like kind and whatever. So I think that's it. And I think, but it's just really family and it's experiences. I'm a big experience guy, right? Even against my wife, like Miami, we went to Derby with John, and then like, oh, let's fucking go to Miami for the fucking F1,
Right.
And like, I'm on it. Like my wife's like,
well, let's go.
What's all the problem? Like, I see solutions. I say, yeah, we got someone to do this. I'm gonna do that. Like, we're gonna fucking.
You give me an idea, and we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah. So, but I love experiences because again, and I think it goes back to the whole, what you're ingrained with, of like, hey, you don't have much time and get as much out of life as you can. But I think that's it. If I can leave a legacy of helping, entrepreneurs and kind of telling through, I think telling the story of like, it's okay to fuck up, right? But just don't let it define you. And I think don't let it shake you too, because like that's where you really know, that's when you truly know someone's character, right? It's the bad times.
Yeah.
The good times, like, oh, everything's easy. But when you're backed against the wall, how do you do it? And like that's how I hold my head up, right? Like when we had all this shit with the fucking pharmacy business I sold, I could have taken $12 million. I took 6. So why would you do something like that? If I would have taken the extra money, 100 jobs would have left Nicholasville, where I live, during COVID. It's fucked up, right?
Yeah.
So like that, it could come in handy. I can compete up with Jon Stewart on cars, but like that wouldn't be enough for me to justify
As a person.
Going to Giuseppe's, and my wife is definitely yelling at me. We're going to Giuseppe's. Me seeing someone in Giuseppe's in 10 minutes, that like I cost this person a job, as opposed to less money. That business is thriving. They're hiring. They're doing a $10 million expansion.
You allow them to
they're
keep
going
their
through.
job.
So like, how good is that, right? So like that makes me feel better on that. So like, that's legacy. That's
Yeah,
and
that is a legacy.
that'll be paid back to me tenfold.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
confident of it.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's the piece of it. If you can set that as an example, like don't be so short-sighted, it's not always about a bag. It's not about, it's like, it's gonna come. If you do it, like, I promise you, it'll come. Just
That's
don't get hung
crazy,
up on
though.
it on the piece.
I don't think there would be many people that would have made that same decision, though, to be honest.
Well, don't bet against humanity. Like, hopefully there's good people.
Like, we would hope that there would be more, but I don't see like a lot of people.
You strive to be the person that makes the right decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're judged on in the end, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because,
that's
like,
what
that's it. And like,
But not even that. Like as a, you don't
That's
build
going to bed at
relationships.
night,
You can't
but-
build relationships if you don't keep relationships.
no, for sure. And I'm a fucking son of a bitch. Like, you fuck me, you're fucking dead. I will fucking.
You're right.
You're fucking done. But I'm the most loyal person to ever. You fuck
Right,
with me, I will
100%.
fucking.
Yeah.
You're scorched earth, motherfucker. But if you're good, like, and that's it. No one. This was like, you know, an incident. Like, you can't plan for that. Like, this is like, go through and take care of the people that take care of you. And I think it's golden rule. It's all simple shit, man. None of this thing in business is hard. None of it's hard, right? Do the right thing. Add value. Like, if you can do that, nothing of this shit, there's no fucking secret sauce, there's no fucking magic formula. Just be real, be good, do the right thing. That will fucking win. And that always wins in the end. Shortcuts, this stuff, you fucking people, this shit comes back to you, man. It really does. So again, read my book. You fucking may not like me, can't call me a fucking liar, but I'll do what I say I do, and that's it. I think that's how if you live that way.
That's what made me fall in love with this guy.
It's an easier way to live.
We do business together because it's gonna be 100% real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
love
you
it.
see, like,
It is what it is. You get what you get.
Yeah.
Social media, like, okay, all this fake stuff, like, dude, like, that's a very laborious way to live. Like here's me and here's my persona. Dude, fuck this. Like, I talk like this in board meetings. I was public. Like, this is how I am. Fucking, I don't know if you like it. If you don't like it, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We're not meant to be partners.
Yeah, that's it.
No.
And I think
Not my
that's
people.
it.
Not my people.
Yeah.
Not my people.
Other people.
Yeah.
Okay, plug your book one more time so
Yes.
people can know
So
where to find it.
It's without a plan. You can get it like bookstores anywhere, but there's we launched an Audible earlier this year. So if you read Goggins' book, we had the same publisher. So that's cool. I mean, the book is cool because some of the stories are fucking nuts. And like, there's pictures to prove
good.
it. But like, we
there's
charted this chat to like, there's a photo
there's
of like,
an entire middle photo album. Don't worry.
There's
They're-
pictures
they're
of like,
there.
so you
I read
can,
it.
so the books are fine. Like, so you can see pictures that's not actually bullshit, including like me turning down $700 million. Like, there's
Him
a
graduating
there's
and
the email
everything's in
saying
there.
where I did it. So like, it's all real. But that's the book. But the Audible piece is cool because we had a professional narrator go and do the stuff. But at the end of each chapter,
I
we
thought
had
for
like,
sure.
we had like a question.
I thought
and
for
answer
sure
thing.
you'd be reading it.
So
I wanted you to read it.
I tried, but I read the intro.
You read the intro, then I was like, okay, we're good, we're good.
But at the end, at each chapter, there's like a question and answer thing, which is
He does that.
That's really cool.
That is really cool.
yeah, awesome.
Well,
Thank you for
coming
sitting
on.
with
I
us.
appreciate it.
We'll let you get to dinner so you're not in trouble.
Yeah.
It's nice to meet you.
Are you falling behind on your taxes? Do you dread sorting through receipts? Are you confident your business is fully compliant? Does the thought of sitting down and doing taxes make you anxious? If so, let us help you get a leg up on your records and finances. We can be reached at 859-576-0527 or submit@leguppro.com. Reach out today and let LegUp be your one-stop shop for all your accounting needs.